Hi, this is Kim, and this is my channel, Kim Can't Stop Crafting, and I am going to be showing you how I'm going to make a box, and that box is going to hold my Thanksgiving or my thankful envelopes here that I have made, where I'm going to write down, you know, a lot of people have the December daily, and this is going to be more of a November daily, I guess. I thought I would make it really easy. I spent most of my time on the decorating. So if you want to make this, I'm going to show you how what I used for the base. It's really super easy, but it looks good because I did a lot of embellishing, and so I think that really adds a lot. So what I did was I made 5 of these, and they're all different. I used a 6.5 by 6.5 inch envelope, and I'm pretty sure they're from, I don't even know where they're from. And all I did was I cut off this flap, okay? And I covered the front and the back with a piece of artisan cardstock. I used the linen color, and then I just put some of the pattern paper on, and I made it about 1/4 of an inch small. I don't remember if I did it 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 of an inch for my pattern paper. 6 and okay, so the white, the width of my envelope was 6.5, the artisan was 6 3/8, and I made this 6 inches across to get the most use out of my paper, so I could get more. They were 12 by 12 sheets. So once I put the pattern paper on, I did the same on the back, even though this has these little edges here. I still put a 6 3/8 inch piece across. I just made sure I only put glue here and here so that my paper wouldn't stick to the back of the envelope. Okay, on one side only I did do a thumb hole. I don't know if I would do that again. Originally this was going to be the front of my envelope, but now I'm going to use them back and forth. Like I'll use, sometimes this will be the front and sometimes this will be the front. So you can either do the thumb hole or not do the thumb hole. It doesn't really matter. But I thought I would show you real quick the 5 envelopes I made, and then I'll make the box to hold them with you. So first of all of them have 3 tags to put inside, because if I made 5 envelopes with 3 each, that's 15, and then if you write on the front and the back, that's 30. So for a November daily or a November thankful album box, I don't even know what to call it, you'd have enough to write on the front and the back. Okay, so the first tag, these are dies, and I just cut 5 of each of these, and I did have a bow die that I put on all of them. Okay, and then this one, I'm pretty sure these are all spellbinders. This is a spellbinders die, and then I just cut my artisan to fit inside, and I rounded the corners on the front and the back. And then this also is a die. I still need to put some ribbon through here, but this is a die, like I said, and then I cut 2 of the die, one in this burgundy color and one in the artisan, and then I just trimmed off the border so that I would have a writing spot. Okay, so all of the envelopes have these inside. So the first one I did, I did use a lot of dies on this, but I put some clouds and some birds. This window, I did put the Golden Days paper behind it. Used some of the ephemera pieces, another die down here in the sparkly gold, and it says with a thankful heart. And on the back I did pretty much the same on all of them, in that I did a piece of the decorative paper, and I cut out, I had graphic 45 tags, the small ones, and then I have the die to cover them, and then I just put different flower arrangements on top of the tag. Okay, so I do have a lot of stuff in my stash, so it did make it a little bit easier. This wood piece says noted, so I thought that, you know, worked because I'm going to be journaling. But just flowers and lace. I have another die that I cut out back here. I did have a saying that I thought was appropriate: a house is built with human hands, but a home is built by human hearts, and I put that on green artisan. So here's one of them. Let me show you the other ones. So I used a cut apart, and I did have some of the ephemera pieces. That was a bow. Here, these were all cutouts and or the ephemera, and I just layered a family. This is like a wood chipboard type piece, and I had that in my stash, and then just the bling swirls. Again, the 3 tags. On the back, again, I just matted it with the paper. Here's the tag, and then I just layered things on top. So I have a metal piece, a fabric butterfly, a piece of lace, 2 flowers, a jeweled, a vintage looking, I think it was an earring, okay? And then I did the bow on the top there. Okay, so there's the second one. The third one, I cut apart. I did matte it with the shiny gold and then the burgundy. I had a die corner piece that was pretty decorative. It's in a blue because this background is blue. I have a wooden piece down here that says family holds the key to your heart, and then I just did a floral arrangement with a spray of different, these are just from different flower packs. They're not like from one flower pack. I just pick and choose which ones I thought looked okay. I do have a little pearl bow here on the top of the pumpkin. On the back, this time the tag has a burgundy matte, again the bow at the top. Here's a die that's like a leaf pattern. Oh, I got a little string here. This nest flower metal piece that says journey, wooden piece that says soar, and then I do have a wedding applique here on the corner. Okay, there's the third one. This one has a gold die frame. I did cut out a 3x5, and I just cut it to fit inside the frame. I had a die that said bliss, and then I have some enamel dots on the here and there. There's my 3 tags. On the back, this tag, the graphic 45 tag, is matted with burgundy. Again, I have some flowers. I have a little, again, applique, a metal frame, and I have a, I think, what do you call that? I don't remember what it's called, but it's the material. It's resin, a nest with a bird. Okay. And last one. I do feel like I need to put something here, a word or something, but I just haven't done it yet. So I did put some lace on, 2 different types. I don't know if you can see that very well. I had this gold bee. This is the die that I got from Country Craft Creations. It's the Tim Holtz potted, okay? And then I just stacked and layered the different ephemera pieces to make it look like a floral arrangement, so they're just stacked. I have a little pearl here and then a little pearl over here sticking out. Just those little tiny details I think add a lot. My 3 tags. And on the back of this one, I have a graphic 45 tag covered in green. I have a metal piece that says life is not a destination but a journey. I did use some dies. I have some flowers. And then there is a little fabric. It's supposed to be like a leaf back here. Okay. So I think they turned out really nice. They're not hard at all. It's just a matter of digging through your stash. So what I want to do now, though, is make a box to put them in, because originally I thought, oh, these would make cute pages in an album, but that's not going to work. So I just wanted to have them sit up so they'll all be, and then I can just easily take out the tags. Okay. So for the box, let me move these out of the way. This is what you're going to need as far as materials. So first of all, I did use 5 envelopes that were 6.5 by 6.5. The chipboard pieces you're going to want are 2 by 7.5, just one of those. One that's 7.5 by 7.5, that's going to be the bottom, and 3 pieces that are 6 by 7.5. That's the 2 sides and the back. Okay. I did go ahead and I put my score tape on the back of the 7.5 by 7.5, the 2-inch piece, one of this 6 by 7.5s. 2 of these are going to be the side, and I wanted them angled so you can kind of see the envelopes from the side also. So I cut one already, but what I did was, with the 7.5 inches going across, 6 inches going up and down, I measured 2 inches over and put a tick mark. I measured 2 inches up and put a tick mark, and then I drew a diagonal line. Okay, and then I'm just going to take my blade and cut it. If you have a cutter, you can definitely use that. And I'm just going to line that up, and I have to make a couple passes through. Okay, and then I will now go ahead and put my score tape on the back of that. So we're going to kind of wrap this like an album cover. And before I get started, just to kind of give you a heads up as to what we're doing when we wrap, the front piece and the back piece, when we wrap these, we're just going to wrap the top. So we're going to leave the 2 sides open and the bottom open with our paper. Same way with this one. I'm going to wrap the top, but I'm going to leave the wings on the 2 sides and the bottom. That's the back piece and the front piece. The bottom piece is 7.5 by 7.5. I'm going to wrap all 4 sides with my pattern paper. My 2 side pieces, I'm going to wrap the top and the 2 sides. I'm going to leave the bottoms open so that I can attach the bottom piece. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start cutting my paper. I usually like to do 2 inches larger than the chipboard. This one, I'll do one of them with you to show you. So for your 2 inch by 7.5, you're going to want 4 by 9.5. For your 7.5 by 7.5, you're going to go 9.5 by 9.5. For your back piece, that is 7.5 by 6, you're going to go 9.5 by 8. And these we'll also do 9.5 by 8, but we'll be doing some cutting. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to see if I might have to do, I think I'm going to do craft, because my envelopes were a craft color, so I think I'll use craft paper to cover it, and then I'll add some pattern paper. I don't have a whole lot of the collection left, so I may have to just use more of my ephemera to do the decorating, so we'll have to see what happens. But let me go ahead and get my artisan cut, and then we'll get to wrapping. I went ahead and wrapped the 7.5 by 7.5 on all 4 sides. I'm going to show you how I'm going to show you on 2 of them how to wrap it, but this one I just did off camera because so it'd be faster. But remember, the paper was 9.5 by 9.5. We're going to do 2 of these sides. Okay, this is what it's going to look like when we're done wrapping it. We did it on all sides except for the bottom, and I'll show you one of these. And then this is the front piece. You just do the top and you leave the other 3 open, and I will show you one of these also. So let's take your piece at 7.5 by 6. This is our back piece. So this is going to be the front, this is the back. Okay, so we're going to do it just like this. We're going to do the folding, or the paper just folded over on one side, and that would be the top. Okay, so our book, or our box, is 7.5 wide, so have the 7.5 going across. I just did 1 inch on all sides because it's not an album. I don't really feel like I need 1.5 inches because we're not going to be opening and closing. But normally the connecting piece, you do 1.5 inches on the wings. So this is 8 by 9.5, and I'm just going to leave that 1 inch border. If you don't have the acrylic spacers, you can just cut, you can use your ruler, you can cut 1 inch pieces out of the chipboard. Okay, and we're just going to lay that down like so. So I'm going to take the backing off. And just lay it down so you have a 1 inch border. You'll notice I have 2 little holes here. It's not going to do anything. I didn't want to waste a piece of chipboard. So go ahead and burnish that on real well. And that's why I use the score sheets, is so it's nice and flat. I mean, this is super smooth. There's no bumps anywhere. Okay, let me get rid of the backing. I don't like to be a messy crafter. Okay. Let's go ahead and just fold over the chipboard on all four sides and then burnish the sides down here. Okay, so again, the 7.5 inches is across the top. I am going to take out the four corners. I am going to do the squares like Tammy does on her lay flat method. I usually do an angle, but when I make a box, for some reason I like to do the squares. I don't know why. So we're taking out the squares in the corners after we folded it around the chipboard. So you'll see the squares are in creased here. Okay. Now you do some light tapering. This is where I usually screw up. This is why sometimes I don't do this method, is because I get a little happy with trimming paper and then it doesn't cover my corners. So I need to trim the excess off here. So you rest your scissors up against the chipboard and you just do a light, you don't go in real far, okay? And we're going to do that on all of the edges here up against the chipboard, just a real slight taper. Because you want it to cover the corners, and that's really important. I don't like corners showing at all. That looks tacky to me, and this one might be iffy. Up against the chipboard, light taper. I think I got all, did I get this one? Okay. So we are going to fold one down, and then again 7.5 inches across. I'm going to go ahead and burnish that paper right up against the chipboard so that I can lay another chipboard piece here, and there's a little bump here that'll bump right up against. So we're just preparing that. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and do it to the bottom too, even though I don't really need to, but okay. So can you see it's just a real definite decrease here. All right, so did I trim that one? All right, so let's just do the top piece, the top, wrap it around. So I'm going to place a piece of score tape on the chipboard and on the edge of the cardstock. And you always want to burnish that down to get so the backing comes off, but not the tape. Then I put a line of art glitter glue up against the chipboard so the paper will wrap around real nice and we can smooth it out and have a real smooth edge. Take the backing off. And then just bring it up and over. Give it a good burnish. Have a little bit of glue seeping out there. Then you're going to want to take your burnishing tool and lightly go across that top so it has a real smooth edge. Can you see how smooth that is? Okay, and that's all we have to do on the back piece and on the front piece. Okay, just fold over the top. So on that little 2-inch piece, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I have creased here so I can lay a piece of chipboard on it. So front and back are done for right now. We've done the bottom, so you're going to do all 4 sides of that one. And now I'll show you how to do the angled one. So once again, we went 2 inches larger. So my paper is 9.5 by 8. I'm going to go ahead and put my 1-inch spacers. So we'll be putting it down like this. Okay. Let's take the backing off. I had to do some filling there. I didn't have a full sheet, so then go ahead and burnish that. Now we do need to trim on the angle. So I'm going to take my spacer again, that 1 inch, I'm just going to lay it up against the chipboard. I'm going to take my blade and just slice that piece off. So now we have a 1-inch border on all of the sides. Okay, clean up my mess. So just like before, we're just going to train the paper. So we bring that chipboard up and over, and then we crease with our burnishing tool. Even on the angled side. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is cut out the squares in the 3 corners. Okay, so this is my angle here on the right. I'm going to cut out the square in the upper left, bottom right. Because that's the easiest part. We do want to make sure we fully cover those corners. All right, so what's going to happen is we're going to fold this over, but we don't want all this extra paper. So I'm going to cut straight up to that chipboard piece like so, okay? So that it will lay like this. Now I'm going to look at this sideways, and I'm going to cut straight to the corner of the chipboard. Okay. Over here on the other, we're going to cut straight to the chipboard. And then angle it. We don't want, well, we could actually leave this extra. It's not going to do anything. Let's go ahead and leave that for right now because it'll be covered, and then we can make sure that the chipboard corners get covered. So I'm going to go ahead and go around and slightly taper by resting my scissors up against the chipboard and doing just a very slight angle. This one I don't really need to because it'll be tucked down there. And then this one I might lay that one down first. And then these on the side. Okay, I think I got them all, didn't I? I think so. Nope, not this one. All right, so we're going to leave the bottom open so that it can have the bottom piece attached to it, the base, so that bottom stays open. So go ahead and place tape on the other sides, and I put it on both the chipboard and the edge of the paper. On the angled side and on the paper. I might slightly taper this, it's going to kind of bother me. Okay. One more. Alright, now we go back and we burnish. So I think I'm going to lay down my angled side first. So I'm going to go ahead and do the removing of the backing on the chipboard score tape. So it's not in the way. Okay, we're going to bring this up and over. So let's go ahead and put our glue up against the chipboard. I do fill in between the chipboard and the score tape that's on my paper. And I just bring that over, give it a good burnish. And I like to do that edge. Okay. Now I'm going to do the small pieces. So let's take off the backing here. Bring that over. Have a little glue coming out there. And my corner is fully covered. You don't see any chipboard. And then the little side over here. Up and over. Burnish. See the routine here. Do that edge. I have a little piece of, and one last side. All right, we have full coverage on our corners. All right, so now we're going to start putting things together like it's a really long book cover or album cover. All right, so let's start with our back piece. We're going to have the two angled pieces on each side. So you turn it to the finished side up. You're going to take one of your sides and you're going to butt it up right up against there like so. I am going to go ahead and put score tape on the paper. I am going to leave a little bit of a space between So my score tape is not right up against the chipboard. I'm leaving about 1/8 of an inch gap. Okay. Let's remove the backing. And if you have any overhang like I do, I have a little bit of tape overhang, just kind of push that over. Okay, I'm going to put just a tiny little line of glue here, so it gives me a little bit of wiggle room. I might put just a hair. Okay. So I'm not going to, I am just going to leave a hair of a space. Remember, I didn't put the score tape right up against the chipboard. So I'm going to line these up and leave just a hair space. Gotta get it lined up just right. And then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to burnish that down. Okay, so that's what we have so far. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to turn this one, it's upside down, but it'll be easier for me to attach. So I'm going to attach this one here. So once again, I'm going to put my score tape on. One at the edge. One almost to the chipboard, but not quite. And then one in the center there. So I always use 3. If I do a 1.5 inch wing, I usually just fill in with glue then. Okay, as I remove the backing, if you have any overhang of the tape, make sure you wrap it around or push it back up over. Okay, put just a fine line of glue. Line it up as close as you can so that it's lined up nice and neat. And then burnish the other side. Alright, so now we need to attach the front piece. So I'm going to flip this back over so that the good side is up. And it's going to attach like this. Okay, so I put the tape on the wing. And I'll go ahead and put tape on both sides while I'm at it. Burnish that down. Okay, and it will attach. Just make sure it lines up nice and neat. We're going to leave just a hair of a space, not much. Come on, tape backing. There we go. Heck of a time getting the backing off. burnish that. So before we attach the whole thing to make a box, I like to go in now and we're going to put paper here to cover the chipboard and to give it more stability. So what I do is I usually measure from top to bottom. I want the paper to go all the way to the bottom when I put this on a box. So I know that this is 6 inches tall. So I'm going to just take a hair off of 6 inches so that I can line it up at the bottom and cover all that that chipboard at the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to cut 3, 1, 2, 3 for right now, pieces of my craft cardstock, and I'm going to go ahead and do 2.5 by 1 7/8 for this one, 2.5 by 1 7/8. You'll need 2 of those eventually. No, just do one. 2.5 by 1 7/8. I'll do 2.5 by 5 7/8, and I'll need 2 of those. Okay, so let me cut mine and I'll show you how to apply those to your chipboard. So when I cut this, I ended up only taking off like a 1/16 of an inch. So I cut it at 6 inches and then I just took a 1/16 off because I want it all the way to the bottom and as close to the top. So you might want to mess around with, start at 6 inches and then kind of go trim a hair off here and there just until you're happy with the height. And I did cover it with score tape. And this is what's going to give it a lot more stability. So I do want to cover this just to kind of make sure it's smoother. And I'm just lining it up at the bottom and then give it a good burnish. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing to the next one. Again, I started at 6 inches and then just shaved a hair off. I want to make sure I cover this, so I'm going to go over a little bit all the way to the bottom. We're going to burnish it. So then this piece, I started at 2 inches and just shaved a hair off. It's almost exactly the height. And I'm going to take off the backing. And I want to make sure I cover this to kind of smooth it out. So I'm going to make sure I put a little bit more to that side. Alright, so you'll see that on this end it wraps over, so it covers the chipboard. But when we attach these two pieces so that it makes a box, this end will not have paper right here on the chipboard, and I don't want to see that. So I'm just going to cut a piece that's about 1 inch wide and almost 2 inches tall, just to cover up this chipboard so that we don't see it when we form our box. So I'll do the same thing, just I won't need to go over the edge of the chipboard. I'll just go straight to the end of the chipboard. Okay, so it's going to be nicer looking when we put on our matte paper. All right, so you can see I just put a little piece of paper here. So now we're just going to fold, kind of crease your paper here so that you can fold it easier. But we are going to now attach the 2 end pieces. Okay, so I already have my adhesive here. on the wing of that 2-inch piece that's on the front. Make sure you don't have any tape hanging over. Just going to put a slight, I don't need much. It should line up pretty much where it's supposed to. And then I just want to make sure that the top and the bottom line up. Put my hand in there and give it a good burnish. And so here is what we have. The shorter front. Excuse me. Then we have our sides. Okay, so now we're going to put the bottom piece in. So what we need to do is we're going to push these 1-inch pieces down, and our excuse me, and then we're going to put glue on there, and we want to make sure that there's a snug fit with our bottom piece. Okay, and it should fit pretty much perfect. So to do that now, I'm going to put glue on the 1-inch pieces, and it does get a little bit messy, I'm not going to lie. I want these two to attach. Okay, here we go. I am generous with the glue. Just go all around the perimeter. And it takes a second to go all the way around. All right, my last side here. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, push in your sides, burnish it down real well. And now we will start adding our paper. I'm not going to do really much decorating. I'm not going to do any decorating on the inside. The only thing I'm going to do is mat the inside with some artisan, and because I don't have enough of the pattern paper. Okay, and then we're going to cover the bottom with paper. I'm going to go through and just make sure I have adhesive sticking here on the corners. Okay, all right, I'm going to start cutting my paper for the matting on the inside now. All right, I'm going to talk about measurements of the paper for matting. I went ahead and just put 7.5 by 7.5 on the bottom. I didn't make it any smaller because when you attach these pieces, it does not lose any width, so it stays, it almost adds a little bit to the edges. So start at 7.5 by 7.5 for your bottom, and then if you have to trim, then you can trim. The box was 6 inches tall, so I did go 5 7/8 and I kept it 7.5 inches across, and then if you have to trim, then you can. So I did 2 of those, one for the front and one for the back. Okay, 5 7/8 by 7.5. The front, I did 1 7/8 by 7.5. You could go 2, because that's how tall this is 2, and then kind of trim as you want. And then I did one for the inside also. Okay, so I thought I would show you the sides, because sometimes that's a little bit confusing. Not really, but so you're going to need 4 pieces, and it was 6 inches tall, so I went 5 7/8 tall, because I did want a little bit of the box to show the craft color. But I decided to go ahead and make this 7 3/8 instead of the 7.5. Okay, so when you cut it 1/8 of an inch shorter, you're going to measure over 1/8 of an inch less. So we had done 2 inches over and 2 inches up. So I'm going to place my ruler across the top here and make a tick mark at 1 7/8. And then from the bottom, I'm going to turn it, again you'll go up 1 7/8, because originally we did 2. I'm going to place my ruler at the tick mark here and the tick mark here, and I'm just going to slice. You can put it in your cutter if you want, and then you'll need 4 of these, and let's see how that looks. Yep, it's perfect. Yep, there we go. Okay, then I'll just glue it on. Sorry, I can't hold it the right way. All right, so you'll need 4 of those. Now, like I said, I don't have enough paper to do matting with the pattern paper, so I'm just going to take what I do have left over, like I have some cut-aparts and stuff, and we'll see if I can decorate it. Just add a little bit of the paper on the outside, just to make it kind of tie in a little bit better. So we'll see what I can do. This is the final box. Like I said, I ran out of the pattern paper, so I just kind of had to make do with what I had. So I did a little bit of decorating, and that's on the back. So it's going to be kind of hard to show you what it looks like with the things inside, but I went and put a metal flower, I don't know if you can see that, a metal flower on all of those tags, the big burgundy ones, and I went ahead and flipped the tag around so that the thumb hole was in the front. But maybe, you know, I might every once in a while switch them around, and so this will go in the back for that one. And because they have the depth of the flowers, it's a good thing I made the box a little bit bigger. So then this one, again, I put a pearl inside the piece, that flower, and then I'm just alternating the tag on one side and then the other side. So this would go here, so you'll be able to see a little bit better the flowers. And I'll just continue to put all of them in there. Let's see. And so this would just like go on a bedstand or a desk. So it's kind of hard to see. Let's see, how can I make it better? I don't think I can. Well, anyway, that's what it looks like when it's done. I do like the envelope and the tags inside so that there's something to write on. I'll take still pictures and put them in here at the end, or maybe at the beginning of the video. And the lighting is kind of stinky too. So anyway, that is my thankful, I don't know, box, my November daily envelope box thingy. I don't know what to call it. So, all right, so that is what I had. Like I said, it's super easy. Just get yourself some envelopes and some tags and layers and flowers, and then just go through your stash. And then I gave you the tutorial for the box. So, all right, thanks for watching, everybody.